All right, it has been reported that Broadway stage actor Ray Fisher has joined the cast of the upcoming Batman vs. Superman film as Victor Stone, aka Cyborg. It's being said that the role is not a significant one, but one that paves the way for future big screen appearances by the Justice League member. In the New 52 timeline of the DC Universe, Victor Stone was a high school athlete who, after getting caught in a Star Labs explosion, is given powerful bionic abilities that lead him to becoming a founding member of the Justice League. John, what do you think of the addition of Ray Fisher as Cyborg?
Well, this is really two separate issues, right? Because the one issue, we have the news that Cyborg, Victor, is going to be in Batman vs. Superman. The second piece of news here is that they've cast it, and they've got Ray Fisher being cast in. So let's start with the Ray part. Let's start with Ray playing the role. I love the news, to be honest with you. I really like it. Now, I'm not familiar with Ray's work, but the fact of the matter is, he is a Broadway stage performer.
Yeah.
Those guys know what they're doing. They can act. So while, I don't know, some other Justice League members were walking runways showing off the latest bras and miniskirts, he was on Broadway acting. So the fact that no one knows who this guy is, that's irrelevant. I've always said that before, right?
Yeah.
That being well known isn't important, is do they have talent? And if this guy's coming from Broadway, he played Muhammad Ali, for heaven's sakes, on Broadway as well. If this guy's a trained stage performer, I have every confidence that he's got the talent to come in. Now, I don't know if he's a good fit, because I haven't seen him in anything. But at least I know they're going into a pool where they're getting a really talented guy. That's great. As far as Cyborg himself goes, you know, I said this yesterday. Somebody asked the question to us, and they asked, would you put any more characters in Batman vs. Superman? At the time said, hey, if it was up to me, no. I would leave all the time for Batman, Superman. You've already got Wonder Woman in there. You've got a whole bunch of other characters. I would personally just leave it at that. But I have no problem with them adding another member, right? Like the original X-Men film, it had Cyclops, had Jean Grey, it had Mystique, it had Magneto, it had Professor X, it had Wolverine, it had Iceman, it had, you know, there was even a little Jubilee cameo in there. It had tons and tons of characters, and yet it is one of the best comic book movies of all time. So it's fine that they're putting another character. Is Cyborg one of my favorite comic book characters? No. But just because I'm not a big fan of Cyborg doesn't mean that there's not a lot of Cyborg fans out there, and that doesn't mean he wouldn't fit in really nicely into this. And it's nice to have a little bit of ethnic diversity, too, into the comic book movie world that we simply have not had. So all that is pretty good. So while I'm not a big Cyborg fan myself, it seems to make sense. I wouldn't have added him myself, but if they're going to be heading in that direction, at least they got a really talented guy to do it. So that's just the way I see it right now. I need some more time to kind of digest all of this. Anyway, Alicia, you heard this news. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's a lot to ask of this movie, to introduce a new Batman and then bring back Wonder Woman, and now we have Cyborg, and it sounds like he's not going to have a very big role in this film.
That's key, right? That they said it's going to be very small.
Very small.
Right.
So it sounds like it's definitely a setup for Justice League.
An introduction, if you will.
But before we get this movie, we're going to see Avengers 2, and then Spider-Man 2 sets up Sinister Six and Venom. And for someone who is not familiar with the comic book world, it's a lot to take in. There are so many characters, it gets really confusing. Plus, I feel like from my research of Cyborg, I don't know too much about him, but his other stories seem more interesting, with his scientist parents using him as a test subject. I thought that background sounded cool.
It depends on the timeline you're looking at.
But then this one, sounds more like a robot. But being a Broadway star, he can bring the physicality to the role.
Yeah.
So interesting, but yeah, too many characters for me.
Dennis?
Man of Steel 2, or is this a Justice League prequel that we're getting here? You know, we don't really know much about the actor because he is on Broadway, and that's one of those things you can't go, okay, let me look up his work.
The YouTube clips of him
exactly.
on Broadway, yeah.
In terms of Cyborg, adding him to the movie, I don't know if I'm too excited about that, just because we saw a movie last night that, while I did enjoy, I think could have benefited from cutting some of the characters in them. So I don't know. I do hope that the costume or whatever outfit they get for him looks better than the one they did for Smallville. Did you remember that one?
Oh, that was
terrible. It was really cheesy,
Yeah.
really cheaply done. It didn't even look like a cyborg.
No.
So that's what I hope.
Did he just look like a bad robot?
He wore like, he looked like he was playing in American Gladiators, right? Like his outfit. So.
Yeah.
But once again, getting back to this issue that I know a lot of people are going to be concerned, and when they bring up the idea of a cyborg, a lot of people understandably so, get worried about the overcrowding issue.
Yeah.
But I just want to keep going back to this thing. Remember, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, Avengers, Lord of the Rings. You can have 50 characters in the film.
Yeah, if it's done right. But
exactly.
Ben Affleck, we have to get used to him as Batman so soon after seeing Christian Bale.
I completely agree with that. But remember, even in the first Christopher Nolan Batman film, we had to get used to Christian. I was going to call him Christian Nolan, Christian Bale as well, right? But still, there were a lot of key significant characters in that film, and if it's handled right, and they pace them out right, and they space them out well, then it can work really well. We saw Joss Whedon do it with Avengers, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about the overcrowding issue, but I agree. If it was up to me, I would have left Cyborg out. I also would have left Wonder Woman out of this one, because Batman and Superman is really all you need.
Yeah, I just want to see that.
But let's see what they've got in mind. Like, maybe this could be good. And you're right. We might not even see Cyborg. We may just see Victor.
Yeah, it might be a little Easter egg.
Yeah, and remember, they already shot, what's the one scene we already know they shot of Batman versus Superman? That football scene. Remember a few months ago, they went and shot in the Los Angeles college. They shot some football stuff. Victor is a high school football star. So maybe we're just going to get a little bit of Victor.
That would be good.
And not get Cyborg.
Playing football and then...
Yeah.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.